Hello, and welcome to the dawn of Ascension. And as you can probably see, there's been a little difference in our broadcasting. I have stopped broadcasting on CCN. I've had a falling out with them. First of all, they were going to charge for each one of these videos, and they were going to charge about €5. And what they've been doing is that they've been actually playing games and downgrading the quality of the videos. And if you go to these episodes from the very beginning, you'll find that the first episode is fine. This is the way it should have been. And then they started downgrading it from 2.5 gigabytes to about 400, then the 200, then the 150. And I couldn't understand why they were doing that until it all surfaced. What they wanted to do is that they wanted to show you these bad downgraded videos, and then they started the website, and they wanted to sell these videos to the public. So that was the first problem I had, because I was never part of it, and I had never agreed to that. Secondly, I found the attitude of the station manager, to be quite belligerent and very, very disrespectful to our movement, and to especially very, very rude to Lord Metatron, calling him some imaginary personality and all this kind of stuff, which was quite, I can't even believe it, that, they were just getting upset and just, volunteering this kind of information and bad attitude. Anyway, I'm done with them. This is basically going to be like the episode 7. And I do apologize. Last time, as you recall, the actually broadcast ended at midway. We couldn't even finish our subject of auric bleeding. In fact, what happened was this: I'm sitting in here and I'm talking for 2 hours to find out later that half of it was not recorded because they had, quote unquote, lost the transmission. So I'm going to repeat that for you today. And from now on, this is what we're going to be doing. And it's going to be quite intimate. And I'm standing in here, I'm talking to you. And until we get through all these discussions of all these items that we want. And then after that, we'll see, there's actually, I am broadcasting right now on the same platform that they did, because it goes through Zoom, and Zoom is quite free. And anybody can start a session and they can broadcast or can record or whatever. So in any case, most of the people watch the videos anyway. Very few people, I think, basically watch the live broadcast because of the timing, because of this and that and that. Anyway, I think this has been a good thing, and so we're going to continue on. Again, I apologize for the interruption that we had last time. And I'm going to continue with that. And 1 second, please. I'm going to check one thing here. Yes, we're fine. Anyway, so bear with me a little bit. I'm new to this. So anyway, we were talking about the subject of auric bleeding. And we actually started talking about aura, and I've talked to you about aura in the past. And there are actually 4 papers that we're going to cover last time. We pretty much covered 2 papers, and 2 others I'm going to go ahead and cover that today. But before that, I want to just reiterate a little bit, so get us back into the mood of things that what we were talking about. We were talking about aura. Aura is basically your energetic system. It is actually your essence. Even on planet Earth, in the age of duality, you have one physical body, the one that you have been used to it for all these times. And 6 others are etheric bodies that are basically stealth. And you can't see them because there's a crystal electric energy that runs through them in a magnetic format to interface correctly with polarity. We've talked about this. And these things, although they're always there at the very beginning, even when you're born, when you reincarnate, but they get activated later throughout your lifetime. Same thing with your chakras. The 7 basically bodies, interface with the 7 chakras, and those chakras are the same. Basically, 3 of them are pretty much activated. Your root chakra, sacra, and the solar plexus, and the rest of them, heart, throat, pineal, and your crown chakras basically get activated later, especially the pineal. Pineal is the gateway to the ethereal sense. And when you really become crystalline, when you start becoming crystalline, you start thinking in theta waves instead of beta waves, and that's the time that the pineal starts getting activated. Anyway, what we talked about, first of all, we talked about some of the problems that basically or the result of this modern life, the transmission lines, and basically has to do with the alternating currents. And the alternating currents, and we talked about that. We said how can we remedy that and all that stuff. You can go back and take a look at the episode 6. By the way, better copies of those are going to be put back on my channel in the YouTube. That's all where you're going to have to look at those. You don't have to go back to CCN at all. They're not supposed to broadcast those things anymore. And they shouldn't anyway. I want to make sure they don't. And you don't need to buy, by the way, anything from them, because the exact high quality, high definition are going to be put back on the channel of my channel. Simply go to youtube.com and type my name, Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi. Get into my channel. You're going to find these. You're going to find videos of other things that I have guested with other shows, and also you're also going to see videos of the radio shows that I have. They're in the form of a video format because they have a picture in it, but basically it's a radio show, which I have another one coming tomorrow again. But anyway, going back to auric bleeding, basically we ended up with re-emergence of crystallinity. And we talked about that these reemergence of crystallinity is occurring basically through the potent energies that are coming to us in form of the basically the CME, coronal mass ejections, solar flares, solar winds, and that sort of thing. And the byproduct of that is radiation and also ionization of the atmosphere. And basically what it is that it changes the ratio of the anion, which is the negative ions, to cation, and the ratio changes the ratio of anions to cations, and you want that ratio to be high. And when that ratio gets to about 6:1, actually opens your pineal, and it opens the gateway to the ethereal life, and you can do astral projections and all that kind of stuff. DMT, ayahuasca, that kind of stuff does the same sort of thing, but it's more momentarily. Anyway, but once you raise your frequency to that level that your pineal starts opening up, then you become truly multidimensional, and that is just basically an overture to you becoming crystalline, fully crystalline, and fifth dimension, and that's the ascension time. And by the way, the crystalline format is basically, first of all, when all your 7 auric layers, they become activated, you reach, full Merkaba, and that is when you become crystalline. Your body becomes crystalline, But that is only the beginning, the inception of the crystalline realm. The first thing that happens is that the 7, there's one more, becomes you expand your auric field, and you will have 8 auric layers. And the 8 auric layers is the first level of crystalline, and basically you will have, by the way, that this time your chakras has reached the full 12, plus the one which is the stellar gateway chakra that we said is about 3 feet above your ovid. Actually into your ovid, at the tip of your ovid and the top of your, aura. And what happens is that at that time, you get to level 1 crystalline, and your chakras increases from 12 to 8 times 12, which is 96 chakras. So basically, throughout your body, it'd be like the aurora borealis, and it starts lighting up. All your chakras starts lighting up, and 96 of them. And then the second thing is that your auric expansion is going to continue on and on and on, and you will get 12 auric layers. At that time, the 12 auric layers, you will have 12 times 12, which is 144 chakras that are going to be activated. By the way, when I'm talking to you about these are pretty much primary chakras. There are always secondary, tertiary chakras that give rise to ultimately your neural network. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the primary chakras. And so that's level 2 crystallinity, okay? And then the third level is that your auric expansion increases to about 20 layers, okay? And at that time, you have 20 times your 12. That's 240 chakras you're going to have. And so your whole body basically lights up. You become real light body. And that is when you are a true light being. You go back to being truly a light being, okay? Now, at this time, we said that this kind of auric circuitry we refer to as 13, which is 12 chakras plus the 1, which is encompasses the overall 12. And 20, which designates, represents the 12 auric layers, and 33, which is the Fibonacci sequence of that. So you refer to that as 13, 20, 33. And we talked about that. We said it's very, very important that you keep your aura intact. We've come up with a variety of different things that you can do, but basically the most important thing is that go to the nature, take some salt bath. I live by the ocean, close to the ocean, and I can drive there and I go to the ocean, and that will help, my auric expansion or auric integrity. You can also have salt bath. You can have all kinds of things that we said. Again, I'm not going to repeat all this stuff. We talked about this in episode 6. In episode 7, I'm going to talk about primarily 2 other items, 2 other things. And if I may just share screen with you here. Basically, this is the paper that I was talking about that was in episode 6 also, the re-emergence of crystallinity or ascension and the need for optimal auric circuitry, okay? That is one thing. And of course, prior to that, we had talked about the auric bleeding and maintenance, okay? Those were in episode 6. And in episode 7, we're gonna start talking about 2 very interesting subjects that are pertinent to auric bleeding. And the first one is the effect of air travel. And also another important thing, I put them both into one thing, and that is the effect of air travel as well as visiting the power site sacred sites, and I will talk to you about that will lead to expansion of your aura. Okay. And finally, we're going to talk about a very, very important thing, and that's the effect of interpersonal communication and basically a self-discipline in mannerism, which will help you with your auric expansion. So let's just go back to this, and let me see if I can I am so sorry. It seems like we didn't share screen. I did think that we shared screen. So I'm going to go back and repeat this, okay? So basically, last time we talked about auric bleeding and maintenance. We also talked about the re-emergence of crystallinity. And by the way, you will find these things every time that I put these on the channel in the video. Click on show more on YouTube, because you will get actually an account of everything that we're talking about. All right. Also, I will also put these in WordPress.com. And you can also go there. Let me see if I can share that screen with you. See, for example, this one is on the fourth one. Actually, this is on the human bioplasmic and energetic system, what we did in episode 4. And if you go through that, it has all the topic that we discussed. And then at the end, it will also have the link for these papers that you can easily get to the papers. And also in here, I will put, when the videos are done, I will put a link of the video so you can go to the YouTube. If you click on this, you can go to the YouTube, and then let's do that. Actually, let's see if you go on YouTube, for example, in here, you will find that this is the episode 4. So anyway, going back to this, today we are going to talk about 2 things. One thing is the effect of the air travel and visiting the power nodes, and the other thing is that the effect of interpersonal communication and a way of maintaining your auric integrity. Okay, so let's go back to our video in here. Let's see. Oh gosh, let's see. We're gonna stop sharing in here, and we should be fine. Okay, so very good. And let's talk about air travel. Okay, basically what happens is that when you travel on the airplane, okay, and particularly when you are traveling more than 3 hours, that basically, the trans-oceanic, intercontinental type travel and all that stuff, you will develop fatigue, okay? Part of that is that basically when you're high up there, you will develop hypobaric hypoxia, which is a difficult way of breathing and getting basically the oxygens into you, and also the atmosphere of the aircraft is usually dry. Okay, and the other thing is that when you're way up there, all right, you're basically dealing with an entirely different atmospheric type of a situation. And outside and inside, it's totally different. There is a depressurization effect, which, as we said, when you develop these pressurization effect at your auric boundary, you will basically develop stresses. And there's a difference between pressure inside and outside, and that can lead to auric bleeding. And we said if that bleeding is actually over 3, sometimes it can be alleviated fast, and you can re-energize and get back to your auric balance. You can rebalance, but sometimes if they get deep, if you are not careful, if you don't take care of it, those cracks micro cracks or fissures can extend as much as 3 lengths of auric layers, and you can really deflate your aura, and it can be very detrimental. So basically, any flights that are over 3 hours, and most of the trans-oceanic and intercontinental flights have 2 characteristics, actually several characteristics. One thing is that they're usually between 9 to 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours, and that is way too much for your auric integrity. And as we said, you can get auric bleeding due to lack of breathing properly and all that stuff, hypobaric hypoxia and all that stuff. So that is one effect of it. The other thing is that these long flights are basically detrimental to your auric integrity. The other thing is that when you take these flights, basically what's happening, you start from on Earth, which is basically very dominant by anions, and so when you get up there in the stratosphere, it is very much dominated by cations. So basically, you're changing your ionic to cationic ratio, or cationic ratio, which I told you is very, very important. The aspect of ionization can affect your system. Okay, and basically what happens is that the Earth atmosphere, okay, up to about 30,000 miles, I believe it is. Was it kilometers? I think it's kilometers or miles, whatever. We'll look back at that. What happens is that up to that point, you develop basically capacitor. It develops a capacitor, an electric capacitor, that your system is kind of privy to adjust in and all that. Once it goes beyond that 30,000 level, then what's happening is that it pressurizes, it stresses up your system, and you can get auric bleeding, okay? Because the capacitor, the electric capacitor that you're dealing with is not designed for that. 35,000 is actually beyond the level that is comfortable, okay? So that is one issue. That's very, very important issue, apart from the fact that you're sitting in an airplane, okay? Most of the time, also, especially these planes nowadays, you see that you're very cringed up, and recirculation is not very, very easy. In dry air and all this stuff, it accentuates the problem and all that, okay? The other thing is that it is the characteristic, and NASA's done some work on this, is that basically eastbound vectors, if you're traveling eastbound, you will actually develop a lot more fatigue, and it is much more detrimental on your auric health, okay? So that's another issue. A lot of times, you have these trans-oceanic or whatever, you might be traveling that way. The other thing that is very, very important is that if you're traveling from, let's say, south to north, and you're passing the equator, usually in the south, you're going to see that the magnetic field is clockwise, and that's you can see that. And once you go up north, the direction of the magnetic field changes to counterclockwise. So basically, you have this reversal of magnetic system, which can affect your bipolarity. And you get this bipolarity that we've talked about before, and then again you can have auric bleeding that comes as a result of that. Now, I want to tell you these problems are basically not the same to everybody, okay? They're more detrimental if you're middle age or older, okay? NASA has done testing on these things, on the flights actually in the leaving for space and all that, and they are very, very familiar with this, that basically it creates aging. Under those circumstances of cramped up and going into the stratosphere and the above and all that stuff, you will develop aging. So you can age actually much faster. It is also detrimental to your health too. You can basically, your auric system determines, your energetic system determines your health, okay? Every problem that you develop in your body is some kind of energetic problem. And, if you get down to the cellular level, what is happening is that the system goes haywire. And if you have proper, coding and could code that back, the system is going to work well. And that is what these energetics, divine energetics, are doing to us, and upgrading our system, and healing and all this stuff. It's the same sort of thing that happens when a healer, through his body, is transmitting basically the energies through the body into you, and can reach and actually reprogram your system. And that's how the healing occurs, okay? So one of the things is basically, your age. The other thing, obviously, is your health. If you are in a worse health situation, if you have some problems, obviously this is going to accentuate, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to affect you more, than somebody who's healthier, because they can fight that. They can rebalance their auric system. Now, what do we do about this? How do we do this? The very, very first thing that you want to know is just do not take frequent flights that are so long, okay? Frequent flights are not good for you anyway, because when you come out, we call it jet lag, but it is a lot more than jet lag, okay? It actually downgrades our auric system. That is why you feel your jet lag, because it's your auric system, it's your auric bleeding, okay? But you want to basically reduce these frequent flying. So those people who are traveling all the time, the salesmen, the corporate people and all that stuff, they need to realize that. They need to really ground themselves sometimes and just refuse to do that if they can. Also, certainly, you don't want to take these long flights, intercontinental, which can affect you so many different ways, as we said. Biopolarity, long, cringed up, being in an atmosphere which is not, designed for that, or the electric capacitor that we talked about, everything, the dry air, whatever. All this stuff is going to affect you. So the number one thing is what you want to do: stop the frequent flights, especially stop traveling so much long distance. Okay, that's the best thing you can have. The second thing is that as NASA has created that, also they put that in their spaceships. If they put magnetic generators, and that could affect, because they could, for example, change that effect of reversal polarity and things of that nature. They could do that, but not many planes. I don't think any of the planes will actually do that. They're not equipped to that. So one thing that you could do, you could actually buy some magnetic boots, and you want it to be as potent as about 3,000 Gauss. And if you wear these magnetic boots while you're in flight, okay, and while you're above 30,000, feet, and then you'll see that's going to help a lot. But then, of course, when you're grounding, you want to take off the magnetic boots. You don't need that. The magnetic boots are not bad actually to use once in a while, maybe about 2 to 3 times a week. If you wear them around town or whatever, that's a good idea, because it will change the effect of some of the biopolarities that you will get it through transmission lines, through alternating currents and stuff like that we talked about in the first part. Okay, so basically those are some of the tactics. Now the other things are just consistent with what we said before. Take some salt bath when you come out. If you can go to ocean, spend time as much as you can in the ocean. Spend about an hour a day if you can, if it's that close. Or if you have access to a salt bath, if you have it at home, it's much better. If not, if you're through a club or whatever, take some steam bath, okay? And one of the things that you want to definitely avoid is the sleep aids. A lot of people take sleep aids because they can't sleep. One of the effects of this auric bleeding is insomnia, which is accentuated. It gets more deteriorated after these flights, and people have the tendency to do that and just fall asleep because they don't want to deal with it, this insomnia. Try not to take that. Instead, take long walks in the nature. Go in the nature. Go listen to some cascade. We talked about that the Schumann resonance of Earth is what you need to be synchronous with. And so, through dissipation of small micro cracks, which is actually beneficial, you can rebalance your aura, and then you are in harmony with nature. And we all know this instinctively, we all know this intuitively, that is what happens, okay? Now, so that's another thing to do, okay? And anything that basically, take, rest, take it easy, and most importantly, we're coming to the other part. Actually, we're going to be talking about this is just that try to be as calm as possible. Try to be as easy as possible. Sometimes it's not easy. I mean, today I don't feel that great because I was so insulted by a man that was so out of he just probably thinks he can't make money anymore. Whatever the reason is, that I don't think I deserve that, and to hear these bad things about the Metatron and this and that. And I think the bottom line is that you can't sell the discs, whatever. It's not. Lord Metatron was fine before, and I was actually receiving tremendous amount of positive input, and even on their side, a couple of hundred people right away look at the videos, so it can't be that bad. So anyway, but it is detriment to, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to be in control, and you have to let it go. And if you're the type of person who are more sensitive, we'll talk about this. Before I get done with this, I want to finish this other paper and talk to you about the effects of the sacred sites and power nodes and things of that nature, vortices and all that. We're talking about places such as Arkansas, which used to be the colony of Atlantis, and all these 9 crystal, 3 of the 9 major crystals of Atlantis, they're buried there still. It's potent energies in Arkansas. And, Mount Shasta, okay? For those of you who've gone to Peru and Bolivia, like Titicaca, okay? Another very potent place. It has 2 of the, actually, it has the discs. It also has the 2 of the potent crystals in there. Bimini, south of Florida, to a certain extent, which is by some considered to be the place of old Atlantis, okay? And certainly one of the crystals is down there. So, any of these potent sites that you go, sacred sites, if you go to even Stonehenges, if you go to Roslyn, you go to any of these locations, Tibet, whatever, if you go to Egypt, it's particularly very actually masculine energies. If you go to these sites, you're bound to get, auric interference, because the energies are much more potent than what you have in your auric system. But I want to tell you this, and usually if you go there and stay about 5 days, you are going to develop this auric bleeding and all this stuff. You don't want to overextend it, because if you overextend in there, then it may take you. See, the auric bleeding that you have, within 5 days, it can equalize, it can rebalance. When you go back home, it may take you even the most, the worst circumstances. And that's, we're talking about people who are not of best health and older or whatever. Even those people, it will take about 1 to 2 weeks, and your aura is going to rebalance. But if you overextend your stay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something, you might as well spend 6 months, because, those people who, for example, that actually relocate to Mount Shasta or Sedona or places like this, they find that actually, it takes 6 months to have their auric system rebalance and then, upcharge to a point that are very comfortable. Okay, so that's something that you might want to consider. If you go and visit these power nodes, sacred sites, and if you feel uncomfortable when you're coming back, don't think it's been in vain. Actually, it's been good. By the way, I want to tell you this. This is the type of auric bleeding that, just like when I talked about emergence of crystallinity, I mentioned to you, it's all good. Because what happens is that basically you start expanding in your auric system. Remember, you have to first of all activate all the 7 layers, then get the 8th one and go to the first level crystallinity, and then to 12, and then finally to 20 to get to the 3rd level of crystallinity, which is of course a long way for us, but it is coming. So basically what's happening is just like a snake that grows in its skin and has to shed its old skin, it expands. So, but it's okay, because you shed the old skin, it has to crack, and you have to shed the old skin, but you expand your aura, and you maintain it. You've got to make sure you maintain it, because you don't want to deflate yourself once you're expanding, because you go back to low energies again, low frequencies. Okay? So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that I don't want to alarm you that if you go and to these sacred sites, a bad thing. It is not. First of all, if you go in short time, don't overstay. If you overstay, do all the stuff that you can to rebuild that and be patient, okay? And during those times, you may have anxiety, you may have insecurities, you have pain, it doesn't feel good. So just stop everything, okay? And help yourself. Help yourself to rebuild your auric system. All right, very good. I think we've covered this area also. And the next thing that I want to talk to you, which is last but not least, and that is the most important thing, and that has to do with your communication with other people, and most importantly is a sense of self-discipline. We live in duality. Let's face it, okay? And you have both negativities and positivities. You have the cations, you have the anions. You have to maintain a good ratio for yourself. You've got to increase the anions to cations ratio. That will increase your frequency. That will give you tranquility. That will give you peace. All that stuff. So basically, you have to try very, very hard to maintain that, okay? So basically, you have to help yourself. You have to discipline yourself, okay? Any of before I get to that, I want to tell you this. The most important thing is that energies that come to your system, they turn from crystal electric and interfacing with electromagnetic, and they will turn into thought form before you use them, okay? It is through thoughts that you do everything. You decided to do everything, and you will actually expend energy. So it is very important that you keep your thoughts positive, productive, creational, instead of negative, destructive. So anything that is negative, try to keep away from it. Immediately, you have to teach yourself that you are kind of like a tennis player playing with these balls shot at you. And I can assure you of this, whether you want it or you not want it, because of the circumstances, dealing with other people who are negative, and mostly it's people. Believe me, it's mostly because we interact with each other's aura. Every time we come in within 15 feet of each other, we're mixing energies. And it's very, very important that you will have harmony and peace instead of those energetics cancel each other, instead of augmenting each other. So while basically unconditional love, compassion, understanding is good, and you have seen that, you know that inherently that is correct. You've seen it through your, spouses, family, and all this stuff, how it can germinate good in you. Okay, you're benevolent. You don't want to do anything bad. You want to create. You have energies, good energies, and you feel good about yourself. Okay? And in fact, you start loving yourself. And that is very, very important. Loving yourself is the most important thing. And I mean that. When I talk to you about loving, it is not a vain, selfish sort of love. It's loving the God within you. It's loving the divinity within you, okay? And once you do that, then you love everybody. You want to give love to everybody. You want to be benevolent. You want to be nice. And you don't want to get in any kind of interpersonal problems and all that stuff. So, on the other hand, if you invest, if you expend your thought energies, and I shouldn't really say invest, it's just a bad investment. It's like a destruction of your resources. But let's say you badly invest in anger, okay, and in ego, all right, and get into conflict, getting into all that kind of stuff. You see that it just depletes and depletes and depletes your energies, and you get worse and worse and worse. And as you get bad, you feel bad. As you feel bad, you don't like yourself. You're angry. You're angry at everything. Sunshine, beautiful sunshine, it is too hot for you. Good food, you always find faults in things and everything. And the other thing that happens basically is you will get into what's known, and I've written a paper on that. I've written papers on all of these things. I will be putting them on my website, on the Facebooks and all that stuff. And you can check the WordPress.com in the future. But basically, one thing that happens is the phenomenon of victim consciousness. And what it means is that you victimize yourself. You say, I'm right, and I'm being victimized. They are doing this to me. I am quite sure this guy who started this thing with me over nothing, and I'm not victimizing because I wanted to continue with this broadcast through CCN initially and all this stuff. But for whatever reason, I mean, I think people can do things with a mission and then get into fights and stuff. But it's just going down and down and down and down. Keeping quiet, and even how many times? I even a couple of times said I'm sorry. All this stuff. It doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? When the person is on the wrong track, is on the wrong track. Now I'm going to tell you how you can do this. What's happening is that when the person gets depleted in their energy, they resort to self-loathing because they don't like the way they feel. And when they don't like themselves, they don't like anybody. Okay? They blame everybody for everything. They even blame God. Okay? I mean, blame God. I mean, where can you go beyond that? So, you know what I'm saying? You can be belligerent and rude to all the everything that goes on. Of course, these people are the ones who are going to probably stay in this three-dimensional duality for millions of years. And if they're not even careful, they're going to deplete their energy until their soul cannot even sustain themselves anymore. Okay? But anyway, going back to this, self-loathing, not good. Victim consciousness is totally wrong. Okay? Try everything humanly possible to resolve the problem. As I think I tried to do that today. But sometimes it is better to move on. Okay? And it is better, which I think is better for the audience, because we're going to get high quality videos. We're not going to pay for these. And it's going to be, I've had so much problem going back and forth, trying to get copies of my videos, getting them downgraded, None of that. I mean, and I realized that I can do this by myself. So anyway, so going back to this, sometimes it is better to this, and you close your aura. As I have done this. I'm communicating with you because it's a good example, actually, to communicate. We're all in it together. And you close your aura to it, okay? Because it doesn't bother me. What I think is positivity. That's why I'm doing this right now with you. So what you do, when you close your aura, when your aura is guarded, they can't do anything. It just bounces back like a rubber tube. It goes back to them. When it goes back to them, their aura is open because they are experiencing hatred, anger, and then adding more to the conflict, and that comes in, and all this negativity that they sent to you bounces back to them. And so effectively it deflates them because it can deflate you. Okay? So it is very, very important that you guard your aura. Okay? Self-discipline. All right? Just simply walk away. Simply do not go there. You know, ego doesn't pay. Ego only gets you into more problem, and it will accentuate the problem. Most of these people who get to this, number one, they just refuse to give anything to the other person. Okay. Two, they invest in anger and conflict and all this stuff, and then finally it comes to self-loathing. Then it feeds itself. It feeds itself. And with the energy is coming back to them because it wasn't bothered the other person, back to the person, it deflates more and more and more and more. And victim consciousness is the result of it. A lot of people have suffered from this on this planet for many, many years. It's time to stop that. There is no time for this. We've got beautiful energies coming to us, which sometimes they're difficult to handle because it is overwhelming. We don't need to add into anything to that. Okay, first of all, we need to contain these energies so they would expand the aura. All right, but once they do this, it rebalances itself, and then you are higher frequency, higher energetic. You feel good, you feel better, you're stronger, and it gets better and better and better instead of depleting and depleting and depleting. Okay. So basically, as I said, it's the egotism, victim consciousness, anger, and ultimately self-loathing. And you want to be done with those things, and you want to guard your aura, so you have your integrity. One of the things that I wanted to tell you is that it does exist in this society and among friends, certainly married people. And, you've seen these abusive husbands who go and drink and this, and they come and take it out on their family and the wife, and they beat their wives, and that's self-loathing. That is horrendous self-loathing. Okay? And then they cry next time. Now, some of the time, you might say, why did they do that? It's because they get actually soul fragmentation. And I'm talking about self-fragmentation, not soul fragmentation. Soul fragmentation is something positive. We have 12 different aspects that they're doing 12 different lives by design. But self-fragmentation is that we can't cope with it, with that personality. So we change to a different personality. That personality. That's why you see these husbands put their faces on the wife's feet, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they start crying and say, "Honey, forgive me. Will you forgive me?" Da 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 da. That is a different personality. And then they go and drink again or whatever, and they come back to beat their wives again. And the wives, he can't understand. He doesn't. Well, he has problems. He has to deal with it. Now, let me show you something. Sympathy is not good. All right? And hold on a second. You may say, whoa, that doesn't sound right. It is right. Because sympathy, basically what it means, muddying your water with somebody else's, water, basic energies. Okay? If somebody is already have a degraded aura and they have the self-loathing, they have all these problems, and if you go and have a pity party and getting into all this stuff, what you do, you degrade your auric you deflate your aura, and they become sort of vampires. They just feed on your energy and dissipate your energy, feed your energy and dissipate your energy. So what you want to do is just, you want to stop. You want to go separate. Let's say in the case of this abusive wife, you stay back, you stand up to the husband and say, you're not going to beat me up. You're not going to do this. I'm not afraid of you. And I'm not saying don't give love, and I'm saying no compassion. Some people get angry, equally self-loathing, and divorce, and this, and this, and this. I mean, do whatever you have to do to feel good and, and maintain your auric system. But I'm just telling you this. It is better to help these people from afar and not muddying your water with them, because they will use your energetic as vampires do. Okay? But I'm not saying don't show compassion. I'm not saying do not give unconditional love. Unconditional love is the ultimate challenge of humanity on earth right now. There's very little of it. Very little of it. I have given unconditional love. I tried to do it today, actually. And you know what I'm saying? It bounces back with you, and you see the energies are not going there. It doesn't matter how much you try, it's not going there. And so, but what you could do from afar, stay in your in your good auric system, in charge, disciplined, potent, happy, high frequency, all that stuff. Try to help them. Okay? Try to help them. And that's the best way you can do. Same thing with the poor people, poverty. I mean, you see a poor person and all this stuff, the best thing is just to try to help them to get themselves a job, feel good about themselves and all this stuff, not throw a bone at them. That's, it's a sympathy and going back and thinking, oh, I did something good. I'm benevolent. Some of the things that we have believed, and I have spent some time in this, charity, sympathy, they're not optimally good. I mean, charity is good, but in a way, if you can help the person help themselves, not by throwing a bone at them. Okay, and I mean good charity, not the type of charity that is very self-serving. We've seen that sort of thing goes around the nation a lot, But anyway, going back to this, the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that one of the things, basically, when you see somebody is overpowering, they're trying to suppress your will, oppress you, and push their will on you, good or bad. I mean, most of the time it's bad, believe me, because the ones who are benevolent, they'll find a way of inspiring you because they feel very comfortable. They don't need the ego. They don't need to push you. There may be, some people are much more vibrant. Some people are much more effective. Some people are much more benevolent, by nature or whatever, or at least that's how their energies appear to be. But even those people, they feel secure. They will not push you, shove it down your mouth. Like what I'm telling you is this, like, I will present this information to you the best I can, the best I feel, and it's up to you what you do with it. You are the boss. You are, the willpower is yours. You're the boss, and you can do whatever you want to do. So basically, you're a beacon of light. You try to, light the path the best way that you know. If they take that light and accept it, good, wonderful. If they don't, you still okay. You've done your service duty. But you don't go in there and beat it in their head. You know what I'm saying? If they don't want to do it, don't do it. You know, if they don't want to believe it, don't believe it. You know, to be honest with you, when I went to this thing, by the feedback I got, I thought I'm dealing with benevolent people who are really trying to get the message to people without any charging and all this stuff. I thought they were in business 3 years. I was mistaken. They've only been in business since January 15 or something this year. And immediately, this is already May, they're introducing all kinds of money stuff. We're talking getting into corporate stuff, you know? And then when you openly disrespect Lord Metatron and all that, and I don't mean just Lord Metatron, anybody, any of the benevolent people, and calling them imaginary and this and this. If you think Lord Metatron is imaginary, you've got a lot to learn. Okay, that's my answer to him. But anyway, this is the extent of thing it is, okay? If somebody is trying to push their will to you, okay, do not submit to it, all right? If you see a good point, you want to take it, but it's your decision. If they try to overpower you like let's say a husband does, or maybe even a wife does, it's getting there too. I mean, we've seen that too. And so, I mean, it is that this planet has been very male dominated for a long time. The energies are changing, you know, hopefully. But anyway, don't do that. Now, one of the things that you want to also avoid is the religious people, okay? I don't care if they're Baptist or they're Buddhist or they're Hebrew or they're this or that or that or that or that. Religion doesn't serve. There should be only one religion. Actually, I use the word religion with caution. There should be one faith, and that is God. There's the truth of God. It goes with science. It goes with evolution. It goes with technology. It goes with everything. There should be only one thing. Okay? All have to join it. I started in groups that people were Buddhism, like Dharma consciousness, things like this. And I was insulted when I put the nicest, most benevolent slides and I tried very hard not to get any time to religion or anything. But what has it got to do with Buddha? What has it got to do with it? If it's not good enough for them. Okay, so I just left these groups, okay, because they don't appreciate it, okay? There's a group of intellectuals who think that they're like this. They're mostly kids up to 25 years old, and, you know, little college kids, they think, oh, Einstein and this and that and that, and don't even, they have very little knowledge from what I've seen, you know what I'm saying? And I tried to help people out, but I tell you what, the best thing is you throw your light and walk away, you know? Anyway, going back to this religious people, first of all, if they come to you, whether they're, you know, knock at your door, whatever type they are, Christians or whatever, Hare Krishna or what's the other group? Anyway, whatever. You know, just you're nice to them and let them go their way, but do not let them at all overpower you. Some of these religious people, they are very, very small-minded and very, very set in their ways, and they'll do anything to convert you. The whole phenomenon of conversion is wrong. So all the crusades were ridiculous. They were absurd. Okay? Anyway, so that's this. And then also the most important thing I wanted to tell you, and finally this, even for people who are self-proclaimed gurus or this or that because they read a few papers or they did this or that. Some people call themselves just darn channelers and this and that and that. Whatever they are. I mean, if they get channeled by a high, frequency being, energies, whatever, good for them. The best person that's going to channel you is going to teach you is your higher self. Because your higher self is the one that's connected to divinity, to God. You're connected to everything through him or her. Or actually, it's androgynous anyway. So basically, resort to yourself. Tell yourself every single day, I want to get to know you. Try to get to know your own higher self. Let him come and flow through your heart. Listen to him. Get intuitive. Turn off this brain. This is a 0-1 logic system, yes or no, 50% chance right or wrong. Intuition is usually right. And when it comes and it flows through you, that is it. That doesn't come from your brain. Trust me. I get a lot of that. And I've got better and better in it. But I tell you something. If I'm suffering sometimes, like there are times that the energetics gets very high and, there's a little auric suffering and stuff like this. You feel like you have to be very, very calm, collected, peaceful, and basically in a theta state or higher when your higher self comes in and teaches you everything. Now, it does that in dream state every night, okay? Unless you have nightmares. When you go to bed, meditate a little bit, self-reflect a little bit, calm yourself down, turn off the brain totally, put it away. Subconsciousness has nothing to do with brain, so brain has to be totally, totally quiet. Get in your subconscious state. Ask for your higher self to come in and to move in. And that is, you're going to find next day, you make the best decision. You, so to speak, get up from the right side of the bed, and life goes on and on and on. Fantastic. However, do not listen to gurus. I'm not a guru. I'm not trying to lecture you. I'm only sharing my thoughts with you, my knowledge with you, my experience with you, and I'm hoping to shed some light as a beacon of light, as a light worker, as a service to God and service to humanity in general. And whatever you do with it, it's your own business. And I hope it will help you. I hope it will inspire you. I hope it'll make a difference in your life for the better. I'm Mohsen Sarfarazi, and we've come to the end of this session. This was episode 7. We have talked about auric bleeding as much as I can or I care to share with you right now. The next program, I will be talking about possibly, this is what I'm planning to talk to you about, the continuum, the time-space continuum, some about holographic world life, so you can understand the cosmos or the physics of cosmos as I understand. I thank you very much for listening, and I will be talking to you again. Thank you very much. God bless.